Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we'll get started. Today I have walnuts, the ones in the shell that you have to crack open with a nutcracker. Yum yum. And I am still drinking my Christmas tea. So let's get real. It is currently the week between Christmas and New Year's. Yes, I'm a little bit off. It's okay. Right between Christmas and New Year's. And that is a crazy week for me. It is a week full of emotions where you can have tears and complete belly laughter all in a matter of an hour. So you just never know what you're going to get. It's actually also the week that my anniversary happens to land on is between Christmas and New Year's. So it is a wild ride, let me tell you. But I want to talk a little bit about what I have learned in the month of December. So here we go. Are you ready? Yay! So this month has been a month that I decided to do something a little bit different. Now I no longer have a child. Now I have a young adult in my house. And so I decided this year to do something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but I've never done it. Well, first of all, I put a picture on social media, and it is of the cutest little moose you have ever seen. And I love moose. Moose are one of my favorite kind of animals. I have several of them in my house, like little teeny statues, because my dog, I call him Moose. His name is Caspian Frodo, but I call him Moose because he's like twice the size of my other dog. He's still pretty little, but I call him Moose. And so I'm kind of obsessed with these little animals. And years ago, like when I was first married, we used to go shopping the day after Thanksgiving to get all the deals because I didn't have a lot of money. Life hasn't changed a whole lot, but so we went and we would go shopping. And when you had a little kid, that's when you could get the pajamas for cheap and the different toys for inexpensive. And now everything, you don't really go the day after Thanksgiving to go shopping because I really don't need anything. But this year, I decided there was one store that had brought back stand in line and you get this free bag and it's going to be great. And I was so tempted. I was like, that would be so fun. We used to stand outside all the time that next day and, wait to get in line, and you'd sit there with anticipation and meet people. And, we had a really good time. My sister and I would go. And this year I was like, yeah, maybe I'm a little too old to stand outside for an hour plus. I think people stood outside for 3 hours. And I was just like, that's just too much for me. So we went to a store that was giving away these moose. And yes, I got up at 5 a.m. and we were about half an hour, we got there around 5:30, and they were still giving out moose. So I was like, this is amazing. We did some shopping because there were a couple other things we needed for my mom there. I got this really cute moose. Now, what it feels like to me is now he's in my bedroom and I see him when I wake up or when I go to bed. At least see him once or twice a day. And he reminds me of it's okay for me to do things that I love, which seems so of course, Jenny, everybody does that. I don't know that I have. I always am like, so where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I am never going to tell you that I want pizza. That is never going to happen. If you say I want Mexican, I am there for that. That's fine. It's very rarely that I will speak up and say what I want to do. And this little moose reminds me I did something that I wanted to do. I was like, I saw this little moose and I thought, I want him. I will get up at 5 a.m. Yes, I will. Now, let's be real. I am not a morning person. Anything before 9 a.m. is early. And you're going, what? Even when I was working in a brick and mortar job and it had hours, I hated getting there before 9 a.m. It was just a nightmare. I did because that was the job, but I do not like getting up before 9 a.m. That feels really gross to me. So to get up at 5 a.m. means that it's pretty important to me. So I got this little moose. And so this year I decided to do something very different for an Advent. Now I made tea calendars for Real Life with Jenny, and it was kind of like a fundraiser for our ministry. I'm like, what is that thing called? Ministry. And yes, guys, it is the week between Christmas and New Year's. Let's all be patient with Jenny. So we are, I sold these and it had 25 different teas and it was super fun. They sold out really quick and I did not save one for myself. Now, that was okay. I've had a couple tea calendars, advent calendars throughout the years. I've had chocolate calendars. I try to do I've done a cheese one, and I've never finished them. I have never actually ever finished an advent calendar. I always have all the leftovers, and then on the 28th, which is our anniversary, we open up all the little boxes and we put them out, we sample them all. That must have been where Santa Samples was actually born. Anyway, that was just a moment there that I went there. And we'd eat them all then. And then whatever we didn't like, we'd give away. So it was just kind of that. I've never finished an advent calendar. And this year I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own advent calendar. I've done this in the past. I've actually made my own tea calendars for years because I am just that kind of person because I'm so cheap. And so I've done it for years. And even the ones I made, I've never finished. But this year I went on Canva and I made myself a self-care advent calendar. Super simple, full of things that I wanted to do that was just for me. I didn't think about anybody else. I didn't think about what would Kevin like to do? What would Samantha, what would Cass? I didn't put anybody else in there, just things that I wanted to do that took a short period of time. Nothing that was long other than I put movie marathon in, which I didn't end up doing, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And you know what, guys? I did every one of them on the calendar this year. Every single day I did something. And it was so empowering. I have to be honest with you. I was like, this is pretty cool. I mean, it was simple things like light a candle and I just wrote light a candle. I would light a candle and I'd sit there and just enjoy the smell, enjoy the ambiance, turn on some Christmas lights. It was just a 5 or 10 minute thing. It didn't really matter. And it just gave me a moment to take a breath and focus on what do I need. It was so neat. I just found myself ending up praying during some of the stuff, really just refocusing things. And it is probably the most Christmassy, and you can't see my air quotes right now, that I've ever felt. Just because I was finally making myself a priority. And I know I talk about that kind of stuff all the time, but this little calendar really helped me. So one of the things on there was movie marathon. And I thought that would be so fun, to have a movie marathon day. Well, let's be real. That is not going to happen. I don't watch that much television. Thus, I read a lot. That's just what I do. My husband and I watch maybe half an hour of television together every day. Yeah, it's probably about a half an hour, maybe sometimes 45 minutes. I mean, if we're getting really wild. But normally about half an hour of television together, and sometimes I watch a movie in the evening, but not very often. So a movie marathon is quite a stretch. And so what I ended up doing for that one is my husband and I sat down and watched a adventure kind of movie, one that I wouldn't normally watch, kind of more of a guy movie, I guess. And so I counted that as my movie marathon because we kind of just had a mini date. It was just the two of us, and I made a special little meal, and we just kind of sat there and had a wonderful time just together. And it was more than a half an hour. Look at that. So that was a marathon for us. But the thing that I loved about this Advent calendar for me was I made it my own. I was flexible. So I put it together kind of towards the end of November, and I decided that I wasn't going to go according to the numbers. So it was 1 through 25, and I was like, you know what? When I have time, I will do it no matter what day it is. I'm not going to be like, okay, today I have to do this. Tomorrow I have to do this. Because you know what? Life happens. And I decided to be flexible and change things and move things around. And whatever worked, worked. And when it didn't work, there was one day on there that said breathe. And I used that towards the very end. And it was probably like day 3. I was just like, it doesn't matter when I use it. I'm going to take some time and I'm going to breathe. And I just stood in the middle of the room, no one else around, and I took a couple deep breaths and I just went, it is gonna be okay. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't overwhelmed. Sometimes you just don't take time to take those deep breaths. Like, am I the only one that's like running this sprint when it's actually supposed to be a marathon? And I'm sprinting and all of a sudden I look back and I'm like, I missed the turn and I have to go back and reroute. It's a complete disaster because I am going way too fast, way too quickly, and not actually paying attention to what I'm doing. And this calendar made me stop for even those 1 or 2 minutes. It made me stop and refocus and go, you know what? It's okay to take care of yourself even in the midst of chaos. Now, as we're moving into the next year, or maybe you're listening to this in July, and that's just fine because you know it really impacts all of our year. I'm going to ask you to think about making small changes, not lifestyle like we are going to officially never eat a carb again. We are, which is great if that's what you want to do. But if you've been doing something for over 30 years of your life, the new year is not the time to go cold turkey on anything, in my 2 cents. That is just my humble opinion. I think making small changes makes a huge difference. So when I started doing nighttime fasting, I actually started it at like 9 p.m. and then I moved it to 8 p.m. and then I moved it to 7 p.m. and then I moved it to 6 p.m. And I did it very slowly because I knew that I used to eat most of my calories after 6 p.m. That was just how I lived my life. And I knew that getting rid of all food after dinner was not going to work for me and I would never maintain it. And so I started that I couldn't eat. I think I actually maybe started at 10 and then moved my way back slowly and surely. And it just became a habit and not something that even made a big deal. It was pretty simple. And I allowed myself to have days that it just didn't work. It's okay to not have that New Year's resolution or that change work that day. You know what? Life happens. It just does. And I used to say that I've taken my diet and I haven't gone off the wagon. I have taken the wagon, torn it apart, put it in the middle, set it on fire, and had roasted marshmallows. Because they were never anything I could maintain. And I am not talking about health things, guys. Like, I am not a healthy person as far as like food goes. No, none of that kind of stuff. But I do know that if change is going to keep going in your life, you have to do it small. If you're going to do a Bible reading plan, reading through the Bible 4 times this year when you've never done it before is not the way to do it. You say, okay, this year I'm going to get through the New Testament. You make a smaller goal, right? It's okay to add increments and make it bigger as you go along. When I first started reading, just in general, I read, in fact, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, my goal for the year is 45 books, which is a lot of books to read. You have to start what is small to you. And so I was currently at that point reading like 25 books a year, and then I doubled it. And so that was a little lofty, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to make a change, make something small. It's okay, because you know what? Those small increments actually add up really quickly. I'm going to tell you one more thing. So my husband had this idea, and it was crazy to me, that every week you did one push-up, and then the second week you did 2 push-ups, and then the third week you did 3 push-ups, and then the fourth week you did 5, or maybe it was by the month, maybe it was 1 month 1, 2 months 2, and at the end he was doing like 64 push-ups a day, like crazy, because it adds up. Small things get bigger and they move. It is incredible to me that you start off with, you know what, I'm not super active. I'm going to start with 1,000 steps a day. I'm going to get a little tracker. They're super cheap. You can get them for hardly anything now. I think I paid $10.99 for mine and I love it. I have it on my wrist. And it was only $10.99, and I started off with 1,000 steps a day. I was like, okay, first I'm like 10,000. I'm going to totally do this. And then I realized how little I was actually walking. I'm like, okay, we're going to back this up a little bit. It's okay. We will move a little bit more each day. So if you're at 10,000 steps, okay, maybe you go to 12. If you're at 30 steps, maybe you go to 1,000. Like, that would be a big stretch for you. But little increments are something that you're actually going to stick with. And so that's my encouragement. As we are looking towards the future and change, I just say, do something little. Go after God a little bit more. Go after our friendships just a little bit more. Don't pack out your entire week full of coffee dates, because you know what? After 2 weeks, you're going to be like, yep, I'm done. Add 2 coffee dates a month and just say, I'm going to meet with 2 people this month that I haven't met with. I'm super excited about getting to know new people. Maybe you don't add 30 in a month. Do you hear what I'm saying? Well, that's all I have for you this week. I hope that you know that change is possible, that taking care of yourself is possible even in the season that you're in. Whether it's little kids or retirement or wherever you are, you can make changes to take care of yourself and get to know the Lord a little bit better, become healthier if you do little increments at a time. Well, you can find me on Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and on Facebook. You can support this podcast by going to Buy Me a Coffee. You can see that in the links. And also my website is in the links also. So I'm not going to say all that anymore. That kind of got a little redundant for me. So if you want to support, great. If you want to book something, great. It's all in the notes. But really, the key is little changes make a big difference. And God wants to walk on this journey with you. And I ask you to invite Him to help you in this journey, and that you have a great year and you will see big changes 1 year from today. Have a great day.